So I'll give you a quick introduction. I'm Tom Chenworth, Deputy Chief. I spent a fair amount of my career in special operations, and now I take care of mice and people. So I'm the IT deputy. That position sat vacant for probably 8 years, and then they wanted the National Special Security event, followed by the funeral for President Carter, which was a 3-day event, followed by inauguration. And then followed by a mid-air collision, and within that we had a line of duty death of one of our lieutenants from occupational cancer. So January, according to Chief Donnelly of the agency, was the longest year of our entire career. So we squeezed all of that into 30 days, so it was very significant. So. All right, but moving away from that and moving into some of these other items that Jeff is going to talk a little bit about, is how do we put all of this information in one location, and that's going to be some of these dashboards that Jeff is developing for us. So we'll start with the maritime.
Yeah, the biggest problem that we faced is, the guys in the FOC or some of the other liaisons that we have has to have like 10 screens open to see one little tidbit of information in one, software program and another one here. And it was overloading for them to have so many other responsibilities. So the goal was to, try to be able to take everything and just put everything you need to know in one place and cut out everything else that you don't really care about. But that came after this, right? So I'm assigned to the fireboat, and we have 8 different jurisdictions that either touch the district or touch right below the district, the water, right? So the 911 calls can go anywhere, and they often do. And we really had no good way of sharing that information. The plan was the PSAP that received the call would do their own thing, and then, we should call DC because it's probably in there. And they pick up a phone, they call our people, and our people are like, what? We have boats? We didn't know that. All right, let me go find where those boats are. And 10 minutes later, maybe we're getting out the door to go on an emergency. The boat's already sunk in 10 minutes. It's a big problem, right? So we utilized something called the NCR GDX, which is the National Capital Region's Geospatial Data Exchange. That's bringing in CAD-to-CAD information and showing CAD events and CAD AVL for automatic vehicle locations throughout the region. And we took that as the basis of what we're using here. So what you see here is events. 3 columns for events. Now this blue area that you see here, this is called a geofence. We don't care about events that happen here, happen there. It's not important to us. If they happen within this geofence, it touches the waterway in a place that we could affect some type of response. So we're going to see our police, DC Police, DC Fire Department, and then all of our regional partners that participate in the GDX, any incident that occurs there. We have divers. We need to know where they are. They're not always at the fireboat. They can be on a rescue squad, or I think sometimes they're at the training academy doing stuff. It's good to know, especially if we have a major event. Where are our divers at? Instead of having to open Chronos, get into Telestaff, run a report to find out where everyone with the specialty of diver is that day, you just put it right there on the board. We created a Survey 123 app that allows us to enter in maritime related events. We're scraping data sources from Facebook and other places like that to help us find stuff, or if we get word of it, we put it in so that we have knowledge of things going on. Fireworks displays happen every week on the waterway. So typically there's a lot of those up there. And then the cool thing about these dashboards is you can take this data set right here and pop it into a different dashboard in the Fire Operations Center. They may say, we don't care about any of this, but we do want to know if you guys have any events today. We take that little tidbit, build it into a different board. So then we have our map, and it's just showing us a number of things. That big yellow blob there is all of the fire and police boats at our pier. And then as you zoom in, you'll start to see aids to navigation, where those markers are. If you continue to zoom in, you'll see other things, so that we're not necessarily oversaturating the map at a wide map extent, but as you continue to zoom in, you drill down and get more information. So we're looking at our locations for the boats, and then we have all of our boats. So Chief, let's see, I don't think anybody, maybe click on Harbor 808. Let's see if they're out and about anywhere. No, I didn't see any boats out there, but in real time we can click and see where all of the boats are in the area. And that's really important to us because we do carry a pretty large area that we cover. And Sometimes our neighboring partners are out and about training and they may be the closest one. We don't care about getting, it's not like the old days where we can't get beat into our first due. We just want to get the person, help as quickly as possible. So this allows
Is this live now?
I'm sorry?
Is this live now?
Oh yeah, this is a live demo you're looking at right now. And then we have a couple other things up here. We're pulling in weather data. So you got the tides. We're doing some simple calculations in there on combined air and water temperature to let us know what kind of PPE we need to be in, because there's a threshold with the temperatures for what, proper PPE. We have river training, so we have some water features within our waterway that are good for training for swiftwater rescue and emergency boat operator for the little rubber boat guys to do their thing. So to make sure that we're not double booking those training areas, or that we have awareness, so that, unfortunately, there was a jurisdiction that went up and trained, didn't bother to tell anybody, flipped their boat, nearly killed 2 of their members. We had no idea they were up there. We've instituted things like this to say, hey, just let us know you're there, and that way we'll be able to come and help you quicker. So all this is just situational awareness, right? We've got also anything from NOAA that comes in, tells us, small craft advisory, anything like that. Apparently it's raining really hard back home, so it's flooding. But yeah, so that's the Maritime Board, and that's where it all kind of started. We needed a way to put everything in one place. And then from there, where are we going next, Chief? Okay. Fire Operations Center. So this board is designed not to be up on the wall necessarily. It's designed to be sitting in front of you at your computer. It's kind of in potential right now, just waiting to be interacted with. Can you scroll down? What version is this thing? 4.1. It's an old one. Yeah, let's see if there's any box alarms or anything going on. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. All right, just pick one, Chief. So an event pops up. We can zoom into the event. We can see where the event is. If there were any units that were responding to the event, we could see that. One thing that's pretty cool that we've integrated in here is you'll see these on the building footprints. So this in red is telling me that 4406 Hayes, yeah, 4406 Hayes Street is a vacant or blighted building. We're taking that information from the Department of Buildings data set. We're integrating it in real time so that our responders don't have to wait until they fall through a hole in the floor to figure out that the building is vacant. And then we're also letting them know that this adjacent structure is within 10 feet of a vacant building. So like if it's blowing out the window, auto exposure, we would know that this is the fire building. Be careful sending guys into this one if there's smoke coming out of it too, because it's vacant. Hydrant information. There's 27 engine driving down the street. So we're seeing all that stuff. You can click on it. You'll get your flow out of your hydrant, band color, all that kind of different information. In a different version of this, it's got the CAD notes built into it as well. If you need to, let's look at out of service units, for example. So right now we've got 8 units that are out of service. Chief, if you want to go to out of service by code. Let's say you want to know how many are out of service for mechanical. You just click on the wheel there. It'll filter over here. It'll show you, which 3 units are out of service. Right now, you just have to scroll through 240 some odd units in CAD and try to manually count. So this kind of stuff is important, especially when you have a lot of units out of service for training and all of a sudden the second alarm hits. You need to figure out who's where, and we're going to start pulling these units back into service. And before, they used to take 10, 15, 20 minutes. Now it's less than a minute because we put all this stuff at their fingertips. And we can filter many different ways. Let's see, gives you an overall as to what the status of the units are. I don't know, let's go to the next one, Chief. I think time is of the essence here. All right, so the next thing we have to deal with is rail safety. We have the DC Metro, DC streetcars, Amtrak, Virginia Railway Express, and Maryland Area Rapid Transit, MARC, whatever that stands for, all coming into the city. We have a lot of potential for rail incidents. And we have no way to really know where these trains are or what they're doing. So we built a rail incident dashboard to help manage incidents. So for instance, let's go to LaFont. So as you start zooming in, you're going to start to see new things appear. The lines were colored, those were the colored representations. As you get further zoomed in now, that disappears and you see it's blue because it's underground. So you know that's a tunnel section. You can see the footprint of the stations. You can see where the entrances to the stations are, where one of the elevators are. And then if you click on this, it's going to bring up a window here, and you can click on these response plans. Typically, these response plans are kept in books that are this big, that are in the back of the buggy somewhere, the command vehicle. So somebody has to get out and go get those. We built all that right in here, putting all this stuff at the fingertips of the incident commander. So they don't have to take their eyes off the incident. They don't have to take their ears off the radio to go get something. We're putting everything in front of them.
And just so you know, if you were running that incident as the battalion commander and you're trying to flip through that book while you're still responding, listening to the radio, it's just near impossible. Here, it's literally a click and you're there.
So there are some other things we've built into chain markers because typically the call will come in as you know, the station, when in reality it's not at the station. It's at a chain marker, and as you go further, there's one of the trains moving now. The orange line train is just coming into the station. So those update every 6 seconds. So we're seeing those movements. I don't know. Let's see what the next one is, Chief. So this is one of the really popular boards. It's our whole blood program. So we are now transfusing blood to trauma patients on the street. We've done 290 some odd units of blood. I don't know what the metrics are on the survival rate, but it's pretty significant.
So survival rate for patients not in traumatic arrest is in the low 90s, 92, 93%. Survival rate when you add those into it drops to the mid 70s, 74, 76%.
During cardiac arrest, it's
Yes.
pretty much over with, no matter how much blood you put back in them, which is unfortunate. But so we have the blood list. What this does is it shows us where the blood is. Everything here is now in yellow. This is color coded. If it was green, it's fresh. Yellow, it's midway through its expiration period. It'll go to red and then all red on the day it expires. And the reason that we do that is because we have these strategically positioned throughout the city. And when the battalion chief of EMS or his aide walks in the morning, assuming duty, I don't want them to have to go and pick up, you know, a clipboard and start looking through. I just want them out of the corner of their eye to say, we're going to have to move a pint of blood today, or a unit of blood today because it's red and it's at EMS 4, and we need to send it down to EMS 2 or EMS 3, where we're going to have 4 or 5 shootings and stabbings today, so that we can use this and not waste this precious resource. But it also tells you, you know, when it expires, when was the last time somebody interacted with it. So we built an application that allows the people, when they come in, to take about 45 seconds to do their pre-duty check of the blood. And it shows right here, so the last time this blood was touched was this morning at 9:58 a.m. by Chaz when he was assuming duty. So he has confirmed that the blood is where it's supposed to be, the ISBT number is matching, and then we utilize within that form, we're pulling in some data integrations. So we have the temperature sensors for the all the devices where the blood is stored to make sure that we can demonstrate that while it was in our custody, it was kept within the right time frames and all that. All that is pulled in automatically through the integrations that we're doing. The guy's basically just walking up, he opens the cooler, sees the last 4 of the ISBT, puts those 4 in, the app tells him it matches or it doesn't, asks him a couple other questions, he presses go, we store all the data, and we can move forward. And then the last thing we're looking at here is all the units that carry it. So like Battalion Chief of EMS, we know he's in quarters. We know it's Chief Schott and his aide is Chief Dalbo. So we know who's working that day. All of their stuff is where it's supposed to be. Normal, 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 online, online. You can see EMS 4's firehouse gateway is offline. That's important to know because is the temperature sensor broken or is the gateway not reporting? You know, we need to send somebody out there to fix that. That's an ongoing issue where they're having to replace someone in the firehouse. And then we'll also know, so like you can see EMS 2 is red, listed out of service. If the person staffing that unit was not trained, it would also be in red to indicate that, hey, we have a unit that is not capable of transfusing the blood. So EMS 3 and EMS 4 need to be more aware that they're probably going to have to flex out into a different part of the city to coverage, because of that coverage gap.
And this is just a map of every place we've utilized blood across the city since the inception of the program. All right, so I'm going to jump back to PowerPoint real quick. The one thing that I said,
This is something that Jeff came to me a while ago and said, hey, this unusable space up here, they fixed the HVAC and everything. We should really have a place where we can bring in the Coast Guard, Metropolitan Police Department's Harbor Patrol, and the fire department, and we can all sit together and manage an incident, but also manage the waterway during these special events that we run so many of, or that we organize and plan and execute. This became very important for mid-air collision because we staffed this Joint Operations Center and called it the River Branch for the Unified Command that was over at DCA, and they were stood up for 14 days or so, managing the dive operations out of the Joint Operations Center. So again, looking at the vision of somebody in the department, which was Jeff, and saying, hey, that is a great idea, let's move forward with that. And then overcoming some of the costs associated with it, and then all of the actual platforms that you see there, the desk and everything, all the individuals at the fireboat, pretty much, we bought the material, they built it and put it in place, and then we gave them the computers that they needed. We had a vendor come in and hang some TVs, to make it a little more purpose-built, put a camera on the top, so that's what you see in the upper left there is the camera that's on the top of the roof, so you can zoom down river. But that was something that was very instrumental for the mid-air collision, and for that, Jeff was able to put some stuff together for the mid-air collision. So I'll let you talk a little bit about that. And we're a little bit over time, so it gives us about 5 more minutes.
Okay, so this is a good example. So the airport, which is right here, falls within that blue geofence. They have an elevator rescue currently, so it pulls that, lets us know. I mean, that doesn't really apply to the boat, but we pull any run from the airport. So what you're looking at here is basically an adaptation of the maritime operational dashboard that we use every single day. I was at Esri's headquarters in California with Dr. Capello when the plane crashed. Esri immediately was like, what do you need from us? Disaster response project, unlimited license, like whatever you need. And we initially were going to try to use that, but then the problem is every responding agency, there was like 26 agencies that responded within the first hour. They all have their own IT departments who don't let you download anything on the phone that they don't want you to. So we realized, well, we can't use these products, that are built for this off the shelf. So we had to build our own version of it, and this is kind of what we ended up with. So you're looking now at the exclusionary zone. This is where the helicopter was. The middle one is where the wing was, and the top one is where the plane was. This is, we have an ADS-B transponder data, so this is the blips from the transponder for the airplane, and then PAT 25 is a helicopter where they met. So we were able to identify very quickly the area that our boats should go and look at on the river because of that. So we weren't able to use that app that Esri built for us, so we built our own form to build an app, and it was the debris mapping app. So basically the responders, as they found, whether it be debris, human remains, or hazmat, were able to use their phone really quickly, answer about 4 questions on the form. It geolocated their area, and it showed where this was. We had no idea. The last plane crash was in 1981. None of us had worked that, so we didn't know what to do or what to expect, but we knew that at some point we were going to need to document where we found things, and for evidentiary purposes, we were going to need to turn that data over to the NTSB. So we built this on the fly. Unfortunately, there's one of the victim's shoes, but it'll show us exactly where it was found, who found it, at what time it was found. And then, in addition to that, we started sonar mapping the entire area as well. We got port security grants, have some pretty significant sonar equipment. So we started doing sonar of the entire area and started identifying dive targets. And then we worked with NOAA because they brought in sonar resources. They did some sonar as well of different places. And we identified dive targets, and then we built a dashboard that allowed us to prosecute those dive targets in real time. I'm at the MJOC, The chief is at the command post at the airport. We're both looking at the same dashboard. We're watching in real time as those numbers are ticking down, as we had identified 100 dive targets. In real time, you're watching them tick down. You can see what they are, what we thought it was, what it ended up being. So this ended up working out really well. Chief, let's go to number, I think it was 84, 46, sorry. So this is a good example, 46, I think he hit something other than 46. Might have to zoom in, get a little closer to it. All right, so this is, what we think it was is a sharp object. We think it's a rotor blade. This is the rotor blade from the helicopter sticking out of the river bottom. I don't know if you guys know how sonar works, but it's basically like a flashlight. You shine it, and if there's an object, there's going to be a shadow behind it. The bigger it is, the bigger the shadow. So we found the rotor blade. Our guys recovered that, along with a lot of other things, and all of the victims as well. Anything else you want me to talk about on this one, Chief?
No, just that, like I said, this didn't take very long to get put in place. Jeff was in California. I was at the HCMO's facility that night, and I guess we were on the phone just about all night long, getting the debris tracker up and running, and then you came back, I guess, the Saturday after, or Friday after.
Saturday morning.
Yeah, and then started working directly on this, and this was that common operating picture that we used, NTSB, the police, like every agency that was there, we gave them access to this. So literally everybody was looking at the same thing. So we weren't doing things on a clipboard, and the Metropolitan Police was doing something different, and NTSB was doing something different. And then all of those resources that were given to us from NOAA, the supervisor of salvage was involved with it from the Navy, as well as partners from the U.S. Coast Guard. So we were all sitting at DCA, and as this would start to come up, we would throw in more information into this dashboard, and this was the primary documentation of everything that took place on the river for that couple-week time frame.
Yeah. So the one thing that I've heard a lot of the folks in this room as they've talked or asked questions is everyone's talking about that sharing of information, and that's critical, whether it's sharing the program that you've built to help other people train, or it's, I forget who over here I think said it, pooling the money together, because it's hard for, one place to come up with the amount of money that it costs to build something, but you're still sharing. And that is the direction that we're going. 10 years ago, we couldn't have fathomed this, because everybody, and somebody in here even said it, was like, it's my data. We get it, So from my perspective, listening to what you guys are doing, it's a parallel project in terms of sharing data, opening up and bringing disparate information in to create a product, right? So for me, it's common operating picture stuff. For you guys, it's ways to better train. So sharing is definitely the future of the fire service, because without it, we're all siloed. We all don't have the ability to share the great ideas we have, and we're all just stuck at square one. So I'm very encouraged to hear that you guys are just as keen on sharing and creating and doing good things as we are for the small projects that we're building in the city. So thanks for your time.
Yep. And just to finish up with this event, I don't think anybody after Air Florida was like, yeah, that's never going to happen again, and then it happens again. And then the most important part of that was making sure everything was recovered and given to the families so they could have closure. And that was really what drove a lot of people, because the conditions were significant with the jet fuel, diving in jet fuel, the ice that was on the river, and then just the amount of aftermath that all of the members of our department, the Metropolitan Police Department, the other dive teams, what they were exposed to was very significant. And we're doing follow-ups with the International Association of, or the IAFF, with their peer support group, and everybody that was on that incident is being talked to, dealt with if they're having issues, and making sure they have the support they need, because this was a significant event that, again, you prepare for the worst, but we never really thought this was the worst. But it was more than, of course, what we prepared for over time. So, yeah.
An interesting fact about this is it happens every 40 years. It happened for us 40 years prior was Air Florida,
Yep.
which we found a piece of Air Florida out there, by the way. And then 40 years prior to that, there was a P-38 and a
P-38
passenger.
DC-4.
Yeah.
Mid-air collision, almost the same.
Same place, every 40 years, so yikes.
And then, of course, we have the Pentagon with the